I never imagined I'd tell this story. Not out loud, not to anyone. Some moments live better in silence, but this one refuses to stay quiet. His hand was already under my sweater before I could say anything. The air in the storage room was thick with summer heat and the scent of old wood. The moment he pressed me against the wall, everything inside me went quiet, like my body had been holding its breath for years and finally exhaled. Then again, he stepped forward just a bit. I leaned back until I was against the counter. He stayed nearby, not pressing in. I didn't move. He bent down to lift the package, and I almost thanked him, like I always did, but instead I said something unplanned, casual, offhand, not important. He looked up, and for a moment we both hesitated, unsure what to do. I opened the door, and he stepped in behind me, placing the box next to the table. The porch creaked beneath my bare feet as I stepped outside, the low sun stretching golden lines across the boards. I hadn't turned the porch light on. I didn't need it. The day's warmth still clung to the air, and the cardboard box by the steps looked innocent enough. He was already reaching down to pick it up. He wore a plain white tee and worn-out boots, squatting next to the package. He glanced up with that same familiar smirk I'd seen so many times before. Just like always, I crossed my arms, leaned in the doorway, and watched him. "Since you're already down there," I said before I could stop myself, "mind bringing it in for me?" He paused. Then slowly his eyes met mine from where he crouched. One eyebrow lifted, not irritated, not puzzled, just waiting, watching what I'd do next. I didn't explain. I didn't laugh it off. I stepped aside and pushed the door open a bit wider so he could walk in with the box. He didn't say anything, just picked it up and followed me inside, his shoulder brushing lightly against mine as he passed. The house didn't feel so still after that. I hovered near the entrance for a moment, watching as he set the box down. He stood holding it, unmoving, like he was waiting for something. I didn't speak. I simply tilted my head toward the sitting room. He went that way, and I followed. Sunlight spilled through, casting a warm glow over the room. He placed the box beside the small table with care, like it was meaningful. Then he just stood there, lost in thought. I lingered in the doorway a second longer, then headed for the kitchen. "Water?" I asked, already reaching for a glass. "Sure," he said, his voice calm, like he wasn't in a hurry to leave. I could feel his gaze on me as I moved. The edge of my sundress brushed just above my knees, swaying gently as I walked. No shoes. It was too hot for that. I bent slightly to open the fridge, and when I turned around, he'd stepped closer to the counter. I handed him the glass, my grip steady. He drank and set it down. "Nice place," he said softly. "Thanks," I answered, leaning lightly against the counter. "You in a rush today?" He slowly shook his head. "Not unless I need to be." I reached around him for another glass, my arm brushing his. Then I turned to the sink. He didn't move away. His hand was on the counter beside mine. We weren't touching, but we were close. I didn't pull my hand back. Neither did he. For a few moments, we just stood like that, silent. I looked up at him. "You always linger this long?" He gave a faint smile. "Only when I'm invited." My hand stayed still. I leaned in slightly, without meaning to. "You haven't worn out your welcome." His fingers twitched a little, like he was adjusting. I realized how little space was left between us. I hadn't moved back. He shifted slightly, his hand now even closer to mine. Calm, intentional. I let my pinky brush gently against his. He didn't pull away. His pinky touched mine in return. A small motion, but I noticed. I looked at him. He was still watching me. Neither of us spoke. He lifted his hand and took mine gently. No hesitation, just a soft motion. His thumb moved across the back of my hand. Then he brought it closer to his face, pausing like he was thinking something over. I hadn't expected it. Even for something small, it surprised me. He held it there a second more, then let go. Deliberate. His other hand rested lightly near my waist. I didn't pull away. I placed my hand softly on his chest through his shirt, then lowered it again. He stepped forward just a bit. I leaned back until I touched the counter once more. He stayed nearby, not pressing in. I stayed still. He tilted his head slightly, observing, waiting. He leaned in a little, maybe to say something, but didn't. He just remained close. I became acutely aware of everything. The quiet, the warmth, the way we hadn't moved much, yet everything felt changed. "Could you draw the curtains?" I asked quietly. He moved instantly. As he crossed the room, I touched the pendant around my neck. The charm shifted beneath my fingers. I moved slower now, gathering myself. Whatever tension had been there, it eased. I turned away from the window and walked toward him, the necklace still in my hand, forgotten for the moment. I reached up, fingers resting lightly just at his collarbone. Our lips touched, not rushed, not unsure, just soft, simple, understood. He lifted his hand to my shoulder, calm and certain, grounding both of us. We barely moved. The stillness between us carried more than words could. His other hand found its place behind me, steady but not intrusive. I touched his shoulder again gently and kept my hand there. He didn't shift. He was present, focused. Our foreheads came together briefly in that silent space between actions. We didn't speak, just stayed there. He looked to the counter, then back at me. Quiet question. I nodded a small motion that said yes without sound. He stepped in close, helping me up onto the counter edge. The gesture was slow, thoughtful. It made sense, natural between us. I found my balance, eyes meeting his. My knees brushed near his sides, close, but still apart. We remained still. There was no urgency. I raised my hand toward his face, fingers gliding past his temple to draw his gaze back to mine. We kissed again, slower now, more confident, more known. Nothing else moved. The quiet held everything unspoken. My hand rested on his shoulder. His stayed at my waist, not clutching, just there, quietly promising he wasn't going anywhere. The silence wrapped around us. Everything we'd carried was already between us. Real, shared, understood. He pulled back slightly to meet my gaze. I gave him a tiny nod. That was all it took. He helped me down gently, his hand sure. I landed softly, staying close. He didn't step away. Together we walked back into the living room, our steps light on the wooden floor. I placed my hand on his arm, feeling the calm that settled between us. We didn't speak. The stillness was warm, comfortable. The couch, we sat side by side. Our eyes met again, still holding what hadn't needed words. The kiss stayed with us, unhurried, not demanding, like time had slowed just enough. My hands rested lightly on his shoulder. He leaned just enough, not asking for more, just present. A soft warmth spread through me, not from one specific act, but from the weight of everything that had led us here. A soft sound escaped me, part surprise, part wonder, as if I just realized how much this moment meant. His hand found my hand, a light, easy hold. Not pressure, just a gentle promise. The world faded to stillness. Nothing else mattered. I leaned my head back, eyes falling closed. I breathed in the nearness, the feeling of being truly seen. And for one suspended heartbeat, time stopped. Not because of movement or noise, but because everything felt completely, undeniably right.